Naturalist John Muir once said, "The mountains are calling, and I must go." For folks in the Charlotte region who answer that call, often that means a trip to the Blue Ridge Mountains of western North Carolina. But to the east, in Stanley County, there's another option.
We're at Morrow Mountain State Park, right in the middle of the Uwharrie mountain range that goes up through the middle of North Carolina.
It's beautiful, it's tranquil.
Somewhere around 500,000 visitors pass through the gates at Morrow Mountain State Park each year. Visitors like Vanessa Mullenix.
I call it decompression. To hear the animals and the birds and play. I grew up playing in the woods, so I love it.
Inside the nearly 6,000-acre park, you'll find plenty of things to do.
There's a lot of opportunity for exploring. You can come visit some of the historic sites. We have a natural history museum where you could come and you can see the geology, you can see the Native American history, the early settler history, the natural history of what animals are found in the park today.
Morrow Mountain State Park was created in 1935, the same year President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed the Social Security Act into law. Amelia Earhart became the first person to fly solo from Hawaii to the United States mainland, and baseball player Babe Ruth retired.
Morrow Mountain State Park was the third state park in North Carolina following Mount Mitchell State Park that was created in 1916. Fort Macon came shortly after that.
The mountain hasn't always been called Morrow Mountain. That name came when James Morrow purchased the property at auction with plans to create a tourist attraction by charging folks to drive up to the top.
So he would charge people 50 cents a car to travel up to the top of his mountain. He called it Morrow's Mountain with a possessive S, and it became a local landmark.
The early construction of Morrow Mountain State Park benefited from 2 Depression-era work programs.
Under FDR's New Deal process, they were able to create the Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC, and the WPA, the Works Progress Administration, to try to pull people out of the Depression.
You'll find examples of the CCC and WPA's work throughout the park.
A lot of this infrastructure that we find in state parks is commonly referred to as parkitecture. They use a lot of the natural stone that's found locally. They use a lot of the wood from the park areas and surrounding areas to build structures that blend in well to the natural environment. WPA built the park swimming pool. They built the lodge and the office. It was called the Uwharrie Lodge at the time.
The park proudly highlights the connection to the Depression-era work programs.
That's what makes Morrow Mountain special. When you ride around and you see the stone walls and you see the buildings built of stone, these buildings that blend in, that is a reflection of the CCC and WPA under FDR's New Deal.
There's about 500 million years of geologic history in the Uwharrie mountain range.
Some geologists argue that the Uwharrie Range could be the oldest mountains in the world.
The unique geology attracted Native Americans to Morrow Mountain for thousands of years.
The top of Morrow Mountain is an old Native American quarry and considered by many archaeologists to be one of the most significant quarries sites for Native Americans in North America. They would chip off chunks of rock, they would work it down to rough pieces and then take it down later and work it into tools, or what we now know as arrowheads or spear points or scrapers.
Arrowheads like these and other significant artifacts have been discovered near Morrow Mountain at what's known as the Hardaway site, but the site is currently off limits to the public.
They worked it down by soil level, so when they would find a projectile point in a certain soil level, they were able to put an age to it. The artifacts that they actually excavated and removed were sent to Chapel Hill to be further studied, and they're still studied to this day.
The natural resources that attracted Native Americans to the region were documented by 18th century European explorer John Lawson.
When John Lawson came through in the 1700s, he described bison being in the area, elk being in the area, black bears, tundra swans, passenger pigeons, which are extinct today. This area looked a lot different than it does now.
Lawson's account of the area's abundant resources attracted European settlers to the area. Welcome to the historic Crone family homestead.
The Crone family moved to this region in the early 1800s. They moved here because Dr. Francis Crone from Prussia, who had met his wife in Paris, moved here because his wife Mary had a rich relative, Henry Delamoth, who lived here, who was into the gold business. Dr. Crone was not a doctor at the time. He was an expert in languages. He taught at UNC Chapel Hill. He taught in New Bern, he taught in Salisbury. As he continued to teach, he realized there wasn't a whole lot of money in teaching, so he decided to try to become a physician. He was considered to be one of the first doctors in the southern Piedmont of North Carolina. He made his own concoction of medicines. Dr. Crone was also a very well-known horticulturalist. He grew things such as oranges and pineapples, and people around here had never seen asparagus or broccoli. What he also did was he documented the challenges he had. His documentation is still used today by many horticulturalists.
In the mid-20th century, the park recreated the buildings which the family lived and worked.
Walk up and it's a reflection of what life may have looked like in the 1800s. You have an old cabin style house. There's a few old trees. There's an old magnolia tree that Dr. Crone planted in the 1800s. There's a Japanese chestnut tree that sits behind the Crone house that was planted by Dr. Crone that still stands. It's a state champion tree. Just to imagine that area in the 1800s and how people lived is just something to fathom.
From the Native American sites, the Crone family homestead, classic Depression-era park buildings, vast natural and cultural history, paired with camping, hiking, and boating, there's a little bit of everything through the gate at Morrow Mountain State Park. For Carolina Impact, I'm Jason Terzis reporting.
Thanks for watching, and if you don't want to miss any more great regional